like bop,
it's like
down to 3.
Scene from Nightmare on Elm Street.
There you go. All right, so here we go. For those of you just joining us, I'm Gavin Verhey here with Jacob Van Lunen, and we're about to watch the semifinals of the Star City Games Open Series Legacy portion here in Edison, New Jersey. The matchup is a black, white, green mirror match. Some very slight differences. On your right is Kenny Mayer. Kenny is playing a deck full of Dark Confidants, Neither Reliquaries, Tarmogoyfs, not unlike Ellie's deck. He has
Mother of Runes.
Or Ellie has Mother of Runes,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
unlike Kenny, which we think is going to be the big deal. But they both
Kenny
have
has Go for the Throat.
But Kenny has Go for the Throat in his sideboard. Kenny has access to maybe a couple different cards. And he's also played Dorn a lot. He's got a lot of experience with this archetype. But of course, Ellie is no slump either, no slouch. He made top 8 last week with a green-white version of this deck and was like, I think black is going to be good here. So he switched it up, added in some hymns, some Thoughtseizes, and now his deck very much matches the green-white-black deck that Kenny Mayer is playing with. So you're going to see a very similar mirror here.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. Like yesterday we had 2 players in this morning we had 2 players in the top 8 who were also in the top 8 the week before in the standard event, and here we have 1 player who's in the top 8 from last week's Legacy event. But the difference is both players from the standard event kept their same deck. They both decided, well, I played Blue Light Caw-Blade last time, I'm just going to play Blue Light Caw-Blade again.
Sure.
I'm so good at it. But Ellie, he's always thinking about Legacy, and he saw the last week's top 8 and saw all those combo decks and was like, if I play a white-green deck again, I'm just going to get stomped. I'm going to put some Thoughtseizes and some hymns in here, and I'm going to have some game against everybody.
Yeah. So we'll see what Ely does here, but it's let's see. I wonder if he figured out whether it is important, or maybe he knows better than we do. Kenny wins a dice roll and is off to a pretty blistering start here. Turn 1, Tarmogoyf.
That's a way to start.
It's no turn 1 Dark Confidant, but it's still a pretty
Certainly
big threat.
Dark Confidant.
Turn 1 Confidant is such a beating, man.
I think I've lost more games to Dark Confidant than any other card in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
The sheer power of that card.
Dark Confidant you play it out early, and it's just, if you can't deal with it, big deal. So looks like Ely gets a forest here. Searches up a forest, nice foil arena forest no less. And we'll see what Ely brings out this turn. Not Mother of Runes, we know that. And he got the forest so it could be protected from the wasteland on Kenny's side of the battlefield. So out comes top for Ely. And Kenny looks over his board, and yep, here comes Tarmogoyf serving in just for 1, it looks like. Kenny pays 2, and oh, here it comes, Dark Confidant. That's just the card.
Ooh, he ripped that off the top?
I didn't see
I
for
can only
sure.
assume.
I would imagine he would have played it on turn 1 if he had the opportunity. So still pretty good on turn 2. Yeah, especially since Kenny doesn't have another land. I imagine he just drew that Confidant. So,
I mean, I feel like Kenny's going to, if he gets to untap with the Confidant play,
yeah, he's going to start
you
running
can't
away.
really dislike his chances.
So Ely looks at this top 3 cards with the top, trying to find an answer. He's like, all right, I got to deal with those creatures. Let's see what options we can find.
He really just needs the swords, this Confidant immediately. If he's a good Legacy player, he knows, I have to flip this top.
Yep, and top goes there. And Ely, the wise Magic player he is. All right, here comes Scrubland, and yeah.
He sorts the Confidant.
Goodbye, Confidant.
You just have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you let Kenny draw some extra cards off that, like the first draw, some recover from the diamond, and after that, it just starts to get absurd.
Yeah, especially with Kenny down on lands. The third land is going to be really important. I can't quite make out what's in Kenny's hand, but it lets cards like Nether Reliquary come down, which are going to be a big deal. And there's another Tarmogoyf for Kenny. He has the 2-drop special hand. Ely untaps, draws that top again.
The 2-drop special hand wins a surprising number of games.
Sure, especially if Ely wasn't ready for it. I mean, the thing about these kind of decks is you can get 2 very different kind of draws. You can get the controlling draw, discard, removal, etc., or you can get a beatdown draw where you play, stall it on lands, play a bunch of 2-drops, or you can get a draw in between. And depending on what kind of draw each player gets, depends on what kind of position they put themselves in. The tricky part is they don't know what their position their opponent's going to be in, because they keep their hand and they're like, oh well,
yeah.
you know, I have to play this way. Well, what way is my opponent going to play? I don't know yet. And you kind of have to get a shape of that as the game proceeds.
It's a very good point.
That looks to be a Dark Confidant from Ely here.
He's got a confident of his own now.
Yep. So that's it. And now Kenny's the one who's like, I have to kill that Confidant.
Yeah. I must kill a Confidant.
Oh man. Confidant comes on in. And alright, Ely searches up another land. And I didn't quite catch a glimmer of what's in his hand, but I guess we'll see another play here. What do you think is coming down? Is it Mother?
It's probably a Mother, or he might just be able to pass with the sword.
Oh no, here we go.
Yes, the Mox.
Discarding a Bajuka Bog, the card which Kenny did not have, as somehow won his last round match against Dredge. He said he felt pretty fortunate to do so. Alright, so Kuzali Pride Mage, now that's a card Kenny does not have that Ely does. The Pride Mage could be a big issue for Kenny because it can blow up that Mox Diamond and take him off of colored mana plus his second mana source.
And that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that is absolutely gigantic.
It's actually interesting that he decided to discard that Bajuka Bog. He could have played that and shrunk a Tarmogoyf at some point. That was valuable, but I guess, you know, putting a card like Pride Mage on the table is certainly better.
Yeah, I mean, getting that Pride Mage out there seems so strong, and you obviously want to play the Confidant too, so for the ability to do both. I mean, it's possibly could have held a Pride Mage and just to surprise Kenny with killing the Diamond next turn so he doesn't open himself up to removal, but Kenny has to remove the Confidant over the Pride Mage really here. He can't afford to let that get active. I've played enough mirror matches of archetypes like these to know if you get your card advantage engine active, that's all that matters.
Oh yeah, you just win.
Then you can just play the dominant control game, and okay, well there's Dark Confidant from Kenny there.
Nope.
Flips the Swords of Plowshares, and that Confidant is not long for this world.
No, he is not. And you'll notice that, like, the second a Confidant hits the board, if a player has a removal spell in their hand, the Confidant instantly hits the bin, or like the Exile Zone. There's just no excuse for letting that guy stay on the table.
There's a Maze of Ith in Ellie's hand right now.
I was once playing a mono red deck and I had a burn heavy draw, and my opponent had a Dark Confidant on the other side of the table, and it was recent. Dark Confidant had not been out for a very long time. He was a somewhat newer card at the time. And I thought to myself, well, I mean, I'm playing a burn deck. Like, this has to be the greatest thing ever for me.
Sure.
And I just got destroyed, like 10 ways till Sunday.
Yeah,
and
I mean...
after I was like, man, he got so lucky, you know? He just, like, I don't know what happened. And then my friends are like, no, I'm pretty sure you just have to kill that guy the second you see him, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Of course, now you have the luxury of just casting Searing Blaze on him and doing two things at once. But still, yeah, absolutely. Like, actually, in my article this week, I talk about this, how I think one of the biggest myths is boarding out Dark Confidant against aggressive decks. Just because, like, the card advantage he recoups you is so important, and he digs you to the cards you're going to need to fight those decks. You know, your life gain spells or your blocking spells, the cards you're going to use to get ahead. Dealing with their whatever kind of mono red strategy or aggressive strategy they're going with. You have to find the cards that are crucial, and obviously if you're playing a card like Dark Confidant, you build your deck so it's not going to deal you too much damage, ideally. In worst case, you can always just trade it with the Goblin Guide, which is fine.
Or you just build a deck that Gargadons yourself.
Well, so that's how Antonio De Rosa rolls. Rolled right into a national top 8. Yeah. Ely seems like he's in a pretty good position in this game, yeah, and there goes Kenny's second mana source.
Yeah, I hope these Tarmogoyfs are enough.
Not looking like they're going to be, but we'll see what Kenny manages to pull out here. A couple lands, could put him right back in it. No land for him that turn.
I mean, he's going to destroy that Maze of Ith, using his Wasteland, go down to 0 lands. He figures the colorless mana from the Wasteland, it's not really going to help him out anyway. At this point, he's just relying on these 2 Tarmogoyfs. He's hoping that his opponent, doesn't have an answer right now. Life total should be a little bit different. Kenny's had a few guys swords at this point, and Ellie's taken a few more bashes from these goyfs, which have gotten significantly bigger. Now, Kenny's got Ellie on the ropes here. Has him at just 2. And this beatdown draw is actually working out pretty well. Ellie's definitely going to have to chump here, otherwise, you know, he's taking lethal. So, he doesn't even have anything to do with the Pride Mage post-combat. He's just basically going to have to chump each card. He gets to top once, look for swords, and then play it if he finds it. He's already played 2 copies of the cards, so it's unlikely that he draws a third. Now, he only has 2 Tarmogoyfs, so it's hard for him to find a creature that really outclasses Kenny's Goyfs at this point, and it's something we talked about, but it's interesting that that's the deciding factor of this game. Ellie's Mother of Runes are a bit too late now. If he had gotten one a little earlier in the game, it could have really helped him out a lot. Now, we're going to have to see. I think he's basically just got to chump both. He's at 1. He has to leave a land on top with his top. He just killed himself. Or I guess he chumps with the Confidant. But, I mean, he's just gotta activate that top and look for ways to deal with this Goyf. And that is a way to deal with the Goyf. Yeah. Now, this Goyf is apparently 5 power, so Ellie cannot attack with his Pride Mage, I don't think. Huh. Now, if Ellie's actually a 1 here, I'm not sure if we have the life totals wrong right now, then it would seem to me that Kenny's 5 power Goyf is just going to it's 4 power Goyf. Okay. Now this Jit is just going to go all the way, I assume. Yeah, so for those of you just joining us, I'm Jacob Van Lunen. I'm here with Gavin Verhey. We're watching the semifinals of the Star City Games Legacy Open here in Edison, New Jersey. This match is between Ellie Kassis and Kenny Meyer. They're both playing junk-type decks. You're watching an interesting game here where Kenny tried to move all in on 2 Goyfs because he had Ellie on the ropes, and used a Wasteland after he had his only other mana source, Mox Diamond, was shot down by a Pride Mage. Now, Ellie has a Tarmogoyf of his own here, and it's an interesting thing to swing with a Goyf. Goyfs are things that don't really swing when other people have Goyfs.
Except there's that GT on the side, which is making the blocking not so good.
The JIT makes it so you can obviously swing with it. Yeah. Just 1 counter, and Kenny no longer has a board at all.
Yeah, it's funny. I took a temporary break, walked away to the bathroom, and I came back, and this is the board state I come back to.
Yeah, you come back to a board state where it's Kenny with no permanents in play except the Tarmogoyf.
But it's supposed to have 1 life.
Yeah.
But still not quite enough. 1 life is just as much as Ely needed, so that was enough to do it. On my way back, I walked by Alex's match playing against the red blue green threshold player. He wrote on his sheet, and we were told that he was playing Canadian threshold. But from much of the tweets we've been getting, it seems like it's called next level threshold. So maybe he doesn't know what his deck is called. Who knows? But it seemed like he had a board of a couple creatures, but Alex Hatfield was beginning to take control, and he just cast a Meditate, was able to untap, and it looked like he was going to be going off with the Time Spiral in pretty short order. So maybe we'll end up seeing that deck in the finals. I don't know.
I'd love to see the Time Spiral deck in the finals. And it looks to me like people aren't really playing the right cards to deal with that type of combo.
Yeah, I mean, people who are prepared for combo are prepared for Storm, but although Time Spiral's a little slower, I mean, it can still go off early. It can go, like turn 3, turn 4, high tide into Time Spiral and start going off. The resilience is just so crucial. Like, Storm decks, like, maybe they're like trying to go off on turn 2 or 3, but when you can have repeals, have a Cunning Wish sideboard, like make sure you can answer whatever threat or whatever like problems they pose at you, then just take as much time as you need, go off, and even be disrupted by Thoughtseize and Duress, and even him to Turok multiple times and just be like, okay, whatever, meditate, draw 4 new cards, find the ones that I'm needing. Works out well. Plus Time Spiral shuffles things back in.
Yeah.
So
I mean, one of the really interesting things about the Time Spiral deck is it's this deck where, somebody could use multiple hymns, somebody could use Thoughtseizes, and all the Time Spiral player has to do is draw a Time Spiral, and it's all over.
Yeah.
They're back up to 7 cards. And the Time Spiral deck is a particularly strong combo deck against decks that are trying to beat you with discard, and decks that are trying to beat you with counter magic. Decks that are just trying to beat you, like that are trying to race you, are often your worst matchups. A deck like Storm would be very strong. A deck like, something like Mono Red would be very strong, because on the key turn before you pass, so you leave open all your mountains, and they would draw you into enough burn spells to kill your opponent.
So we just had, so we're giving away 6 months of premium here during this match. 6 months of StarCityGames.com premium. Pretty awesome prize if you ask me. All kinds of great content on there. And so the way you're going to win this premium prize, you should get on Twitter right now, type in the hashtag SCG Premium, exactly like it sounds. We're going to type the question into Twitter here in a second, so you'll be able to see it for yourself. And if you will choose one randomly out of everyone who gets the answer to the question correct, and that person will win 6 months of premium. Here's the question. We had Kenny Mayer in the booth not that long ago, and he said he won a match that was basically unwinnable under any circumstances for him, and somehow he won it. What matchup did he play against? Which deck did he play against? Tweet at us now with a hashtag SCG Premium, and you have the chance to win 6 months of premium. It's pretty exciting prize, I think, for anyone who's looking to up their game and potentially read tournament reports by some of the great players in this event right now. Kenny lost the first game here, but see how he does in game 2. We don't have the deck list once again. We don't know what they're sideboarding from Ely's side, but from Kenny's side, we did see a sideboard earlier when he was playing against Goblins, and I know he has 4 Go for the Throats that are going to be pretty awesome here. Engineer Explosives is also probably going to be reasonable. So his Engineer Explosives, Go for the Throats. I think those are probably the best 2 cards that he's going to be bringing in this matchup, from what I can recall. Do you remember what his 4th sideboard card was? He had, so his sideboard was 4.
It was a lot of 4-ofs.
Yeah, it was 4 Go for the Throats.
Engineered Explosives.
3 Engineered Explosives, 4 Plagues. But I don't remember what the last 4 card was.
I'm not sure. I think you and Glenn actually covered the match.
Yeah. It was me and me.
Or you and Jared.
And Jared and Ben Hayes all looked at the match. I was wondering if you would think of maybe what the other card would be in that situation, but I do not recall. But I don't think it was a card for this matchup. I think we're just going to be seeing Go for the Throats and Engineering Explosives potentially here. And the tweets for the question are rolling on in. Yeah.
It's interesting that Kenny packed it in. Even though he had no permanents, sometimes it's just your opponent's at 1. Maybe they make a mistake and play a fetch land and pop it.
They're like, oh, sweet, a land. I've been waiting for one of these.
Yeah. I've seen it happen.
It wouldn't be the first time. The trickiest thing is is on Magic Online, right? Because you have all your lands and
sometimes you just click on one by accident.
And well, the absolute worst. So Time Spiral, you'd be at 1 life and have Horizon Canopy in play, but your opponent who's playing 5-color teachings would have Urborg. So you click on your Horizon Canopy and you go through this like, would you like to add green? No. Would you like to add white? Like you go through the pop-up window and it's like, well, I want to add black, but if you click slightly wrong, you just die.
Yeah,
You're
you
at
just
1
die.
life. And there's no alt-viewing of that.
Like
no
the,
kickbacks.
The old pain lands, the ones
Sure.
we used to play, they're the same way. Like they'll just like click on the wrong part of the thing, and then it'll just be like, oh, your opponent wins the match. It'll be like, well, that's oh. Rashad is lamenting having Riftstone Portal in his graveyard.
At least you don't, Oh, that is really bad. So yeah, so he brings up the point. So you have, if you have Horizon Canopy and Riftstone Portal in your graveyard, it comes up, would you do green or white or green or white? Like, where do you click?
You actually just don't know where you want to click.
I think there's probably, because Rashad says there used to be a bug on Magic Online that did that. That's
it actually funny. Like changed at random, so you actually didn't know which one you had to click on.
All right, so imagine this. All right, Jake.
It's a guessing game.
Jake, you're playing you're playing the finals of a PTQ, and that happens on Magic Online, and you have to choose out of the 4 options, green, and they're layered green, white, white, green, and you have to add 1 mana that doesn't deal you damage. Which one do you click out of those 4 options?
I read the Horizon Canopy, and if green comes first on the Horizon Canopy, then I click on the second iteration of colors, and if white comes first, I click on the first iteration of colors.
Well
I feel like that's a good way to do it, right?
Well played, well played. Someone in the on Twitter, Adam Birch, asked, "Can you pop a fetch land if it will put you at 0?" The answer,
you will die.
The answer is yes. You can pop a fetch land if you have Platinum Angel in play, because you have 1 life. You can pay your 1 life. Then, as soon as you play the ability, you die. So I recommend not doing this. So Kenny Mayer leads on Verdant Catacombs, and he's going to crack it here.
I mean, you can do it if you have Platinum Angel in play.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no problem at all. You can not pay for your packs. You can do whatever you feel like.
Yeah, oh man, the year I played the Platinum Angel Passive Negation deck, I had so many players calling, being like, all right, you just lost the game. I'm like, actually, I can't lose the game. Thank you very much. Like, did you read this card? I cannot lose the game, and you cannot win the game.
No, man, that deck was awesome. I went X2 at regionals, and pretty sweet deck. Anyway, Inquisition of Kozilek, first turn from Kenny Mayer here, and it's going to look at a hand of Swords to Plowshares, Tarmogoyf, Hymn to Turek, and another Swords. Wow, what do you think you take here?
Him.
I think it just has to be the him.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what's at Kenny's hand. If he's a creature-heavy hand, maybe that Swords is not the correct call, or maybe a Swords is the correct call, but I feel like him is probably what he wants. He just doesn't want to get his hand decimated here. Plus, Kenny opened on a discard spell, so he wants to play the control game, not let Ely play the control game.
Yeah, he's also, he's on the play. If he allows Ellie to get like a turn 2 him on a draw, it's probably just going to cripple him, especially because he knows he's still going to have a sword in hand. Yeah, Kenny takes the him. Card is good.
Yep, and him goes down. Discard 2 cards at random, still as good as it ever was. Chris Bakula was here this weekend, and he didn't come into the booth, but I had the opportunity to talk with him a little bit during one of my breaks. And he said that he played deck with him. As far as I could understand, I think he didn't tell me what deck he played, but it sounded like he played the same, a similar deck to the one that the Dead Guy Ale, the white-black deck.
Oh yeah.
And Hymn to Turek, like still as good as ever. You just hit the right 2 cards, and that's that. So, Kenny Mayer with Verdant Catacombs. And slow game being played.
Yeah, I mean, it's the semifinals. It's Legacy. There are a lot of cards to play around.
Oh no, for sure. Like I do not fault either player for playing slow in this situation. Like there's a lot of different things you can take in, especially in a match where so many of your cards are similar, and you have to figure out what is the correct play to make here. When I said that, I meant just the players are really taking their time, which really shows you the caliber. I think a lot of players, even in PTQ top 8s, semifinals, finals, even at Grand Prix playing for top 16 or even top 8, will just rush through their plays. And there is some advantage to be playing that. You can make your opponent play at your speed and potentially make them mess up, but at the same time, like if you're messing up yourself, it's not doing you a lot of good.
And actually, playing slower can often increase the pace of your opponent's play.
Sure. Because they're
I don't
afraid,
know
like,
if
I
you
don't want to time out, geez. You know?
Yeah.
Although in the top 8, you don't really have that concern. So there's the ubiquitous Horizon Canopy there. And down comes Tarmogoyf. And Kenny cracks Verdant Catacombs. Go get a
I expect a go for the throat here out of Kenny. It seems unusual for him to keep a hand where he has no 2-drop with no go for the throat.
He seems to love his 2-drops, indeed. So he gets a Bayou there. Verdant Catacombs fittingly getting the green and black lands. And nope, no go for the throat, just chooses to draw his card, thin his deck a little bit, which shows that he might be a little bit threat light if he's choosing to thin his deck. He's not land light.
Yeah, he's probably just going to go for the Vindicate here on this Goyf.
Vindicate on that Tarmogoyf. I think Vindicate, I don't think that Ely said that he had Vindicate in his deck. That's a card that Kenny has that Ely does not seem to have from everything we've seen so far.
I remember Vindicate was one of the first cards that I really spent a lot of money on.
Oh man, I had a love affair with Vindicate back in the day. I just could not stop opening them in Apocalypse sealed decks. A big problem to have, I know, but yeah. And then I opened like 8 or 9 of them in sealed decks at one point. I just traded so many of them away, but I still have my play set. Awesome card to have. So much utility. Like you can mana screw your opponent, you can kill enchantments. Even now,
it's basically Stone Rain when I play it. that's how I look at it.
Killing bounce. And there's a Kitchen Finks from Ely, which is a card Kenny definitely does not have. Nice little life boost. And the thing about Vindicate that's nice is it's aged well. Unlike other cards that specify permanent types, it just hits any permanent. So Planeswalkers are still vulnerable to the wrath of Vindicate. Do not mourn for me, it is my destiny. Says the flavor text.
That is the flavor text. Gerard Capation.
That is correct.
Vindication, baby. For Mike Mattisaf fans.
Alright, and down comes Wasteland. And Wasteland's that Savannah.
Like that play.
And here comes Tarmogoyf of his own. He found a 2-drop. So Kenny with his trusty 2-drop. And looks like we have...
Now Ellie's got some swords, and Kenny knows he has some swords, so...
Yeah, let's see, I'm trying to figure out how big that Tarmogoyf is. I can see Kenny's graveyard, I can't see Ely's graveyard quite as well, but there's
Oh, huh. I think I understand now. I think Kenny probably did keep a hand with the 2-drop. He probably had a Goyf, but after the turn 1 discard spell, when he saw that his opponent had a pair of swords, he probably neglected not to play the 2-drop on turn 2. That way he could Vindicate Ellie's 2-drop on his turn 3, and then when he played the Tarmogoyf in the future, his opponent would have to spend the removal spell, the swords, and he would gain a lot more life, which would help him out inevitably in the race.
Well, also, he made sure that Ely actually had to spend a mana here, because he had tapped for his Kitchen Finks, and then he didn't have any white mana untapped, so when Kenny plays this Tarmogoyf and says go, it forces Ely to use a mana on his turn instead of just getting it for essentially free in Kenny's end step.
Yeah, Kenny did a really good job really making this Tarmogoyf as troublesome as it possibly could be for his opponent.
We'll see what happens here. So Ely's searching his deck, trying to figure out what is the right land to get here. He shuffles a GT to the top. Can't get that one, sorry.
Sorry, sir.
Searching through his options. He's like, did I miss it? Like, where'd it go? And he's looking like the land he wants might not be in his deck.
I'm sure there's something he can find.
Well, I'm sure he can find something, but I know that slow search when you like look. Okay, I think he found it. When you like look through your deck, you're like, wait, I know it's in here. I know it's in here. I didn't sideboard it out. Where'd it go? And Ely looks at his hand again.
I've once looked for a card with Vampiric Tutor in my deck and not seen it, and looked through again and not seen it, and looked through again slowly and not seen it, and gotten a judge called on me, and it was this whole big ordeal. I was very young. It was a Vampiric Tutor. This was back when you were allowed to play with Vampiric Tutor, and after a lot of deliberation, we found the card in my deck. It was like two of my sleeves were kind of stuck together a little bit. So like I thought I was like playing with a legal deck that had like been presented and everything. And I was just being an idiot.
You're like, Judge,
You know.
can you help me find the card I'm looking for in my deck with
I was
Vampiric
like
Tutor?
15. This was when I first started PDQing.
So Kenny dropped the swords on that Kitchen Finks. Yeah, I remember one time well, I guess the main source to be saved for a better time. We'll wait till the break while the game's not going on. But I'll tell you a story, kind of similar. Gabe Lanciano on Twitter recommends that we have a Goyf size counter on the screen for when all these Tarmogoyfs are happening. Something to keep in mind for future events.
Is there any way we can do that?
I think part of the problem is keeping track, making sure we keep track of everything in the graveyard. It can be difficult to do when the cards are moving fast, but
right now we're looking at instant sorcery creature land.
it looks like it'd be a 4-power Tarmogoyf. There's a dice on that Goyf, but I can't quite make out the number, but I vaguely see I think it's a 4, so.
It is 4.
4/5. Okay. All right. So, options being considered here, trying to figure out the right line of play.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting here. I feel like just being on the play is a pretty big advantage also.
Okay, Kenny makes the decision. Vindicate time. He knows he's casting it, just a matter of on what. Does he hit the Pride Mage, or is he going to kill off one of Ely's lands? Once again, the Stone Rain effect. Vindicate.
Stone Rain's good. Sometimes all you want is a Stone Rain.
Man, try building Magnivore in Legacy.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's makes some people's lives really miserable. I hope they never play Karmic Justice against us.
I really like that deck. Magnivore? I enjoyed it.
How do we beat a Karmic Justice?
Ooh, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, that is going to be tough. A card we saw earlier in this tournament. So Kenny does end up vindicating Ely's Horizon Canopy. And Ely's trying to figure out what the play is now. Taking his time to figure out the correct line of play. These players playing very deliberately. They know that every point of damage matters, every play matters, and one wrong decision could cost them the match of something this tight. Alright, so Jite comes down for Ely. That's definitely a problem for Kenny, especially since he just spent that Vindicate killing a land.
Yeah, the Kamigawa equipment is certainly one of the most powerful things that Ely's deck can do in this matchup.
Yeah, that Jite just dominates creature-based matchups. It is unbelievable.
Second Kenny lets Ely get some counters on that. It's basically lights.
Oh man, there's the swords on the Goyf.
I feel like Jite is in a lot of ways like the original Planeswalker. It starts getting the counters, like if you're on tap with it, it's just over.
It kind of is like the original Planeswalker. So it's like the charge me up and build the Planeswalker, you know? So Kenny plays another Tarmogoyf here. Now, the only way this might not be disastrous for Kenny is if Ely doesn't have another creature. He can go equip the Jite, and even if he attacks, he kills off the Pride Mage, and then if there's no creature to back it up, then 2 counters sit on the Jite. But other than that,
well, no, because the Pride Mage will get exalted. So the Tarmogoyf's a 4/5, and it'll take 3, and then the Jit will get 2 counters, and the Jit can eat the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well,
okay. So
Kenny swords that, although he does not wait for the Jite to be equipped. Dark Confidant. Kenny's answer is coming one turn or a couple seconds too late here.
He needs to go for the throat or a sword here.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't wait until that Jite got equipped. But there's clearly a good reason. Must have been something smaller that I missed. Looks like, alright, so Kenny taps 2. He's got something going on. Does he have go? Oh, he's got an own Dark Confidant
on his own.
But it's not quite as good when your opponent has Umezawa's Jite.
Not at all.
Granted, it would make Ely lose his confidence if he were to attack into Tarmogoyf, but
well, he's going to draw a card off it first. So.
Yeah, who knows if he finds his own removal spell? It could be a big issue.
Now, Ely's going to get to draw an extra card. last game he revealed the swords to Kenny, and things were kind of looking rough.
Maze of Ith.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Doesn't tap for mana, but it's still a pretty strong spell to have.
Pretty strong spell. Like, it's
Pretty
not a spell,
much
but
what we mean.
you understand what I mean.
It's like a split card land spell, right? Oh, and a swords on the Confidant.
Oh.
Now that means...
That was a very kind upkeep and draw step.
Indeed, and now that Confidant of Elise can just sit back and be like, all right,
I'm going to draw a trillion cards.
Yeah, bring it. And Kenny has to find a removal spell, and fast.
Kenny doesn't draw a removal spell in the next 2
turns. There's a Vindicate, but he doesn't. I don't think he has land for it.
Oh, he doesn't have the white for it?
Yeah, he got wastelanded. Or maybe he does. Oh, no whites. Just Bayou.
So, Ellie reveals a Sensei stop. Once he has the top in play, the Confidant is no longer a liability even. It's just a draw 2 every turn.
Not that the Confidant was so much of a liability before, but then it's especially not a liability. You just pick up an extra land every turn and hit all your drops. And there's Thoughtseize, which is going to steal Kenny's Vindicate.
Ellie will drop down to 14. Comes to top and he passes the turn.
Oh man.
This knight goes to 11.
Looking rough for Mr. Mayor here.
It's 11. Another Confidant. This could give Kenny a little bit of an opening, I suppose. Legit just makes it impossible. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, that Confidant could get him back in.
Okay, well, I mean, there are 2 Confidants on the opponent's side, but the Confidant could definitely find what he's looking for. Could we see an attack with the GTA to kill off that Dark Confidant, potentially?
That's definitely a possibility.
Alright, so he finds the swords, and so there goes another Confidant.
I mean, the correct play here may be swords, your Goyf, equip Bob.
I mean, and there's another, he just drew another Dark Confidant, and he can do everything. He wants, he can swords, and play that Confidant, assuming he has another land. So, oh man. Let's see. Yep, he equips up and serves. Block with Confidant. So they trade, but GTA gets active. That's going to be a big issue.
That's a little bit of a problem. Now, Kenny can't even bash with the Goyf for this opportunity because the Maze of Ith just blanks him.
Yep. And even then, it's not even clear that he would Maze of Ith in this situation.
Ooh, Ellie draws a him.
Oh, that's going to steal both of Kenny's cards.
2 cards out of Kenny's hand.
That Dark Confidant, let me tell you.
I assume that Kenny probably has some white cards in his hand.
They call him the Great One for a reason. And yeah, Kenny sees it ready on the wall.
It in.
Shows his hand of Elspeth Swords Dark Confidant and packs it in without a way to deal with the equipment. So
yeah, Kenny's always a gentleman. You know, he's calm, collected.